Are you tired of playing this stupid video game? Trying to get all of the rewards without any of the effort? But fear not, because if you call now, you can get expert advice on how to become the best video game player on a mobile device ever.
Okay, maybe that's a little over the top. Hello world, I'm 2 from idle.info, and today we're gonna walk you through how to make your own auto team. So, let's go to the team selection menu, and over there we're gonna need to find an empty slot to put our team in. So we're just gonna go and find one. We'll probably need to make some space over here. And once you've done that, we can take a look at the cards. So there are actually 5 main pieces to this thing. Obviously, you need 5 cards. Each one is different. And so the first thing you're going to look for is Cinderella Magic. To do that, you can usually sort by appeal and scroll right to the bottom of your card stack, because they are usually low appeal. But if you really wanted to go and find them, you can open up your filters and you need to look for a very specific skill, which is Bless. Once you found that, and that gives you all your magic cards as well. That's a pretty easy way of doing it. Now, the next card that we're going to be looking for, specifically over here, we're going to scroll down this list of filters again, and we're going to look specifically for our perfect support, which is also known as perfect lock in some circles. So this 9 second by Uzuki is actually pretty good. Alternatively, you can use 15 seconds from Mio. 12 seconds is not very desirable here, so we're just gonna pick one of these options for this example here. We're gonna use this Izumi for our example, and then we're gonna need to look for our damage card. So if you take a look at damage cards and search by SSR, there's really only one result, which is Helen. And not everyone has Helen. You can use Helen, of course, but there are obviously more options. So you need to go to SR, and you're going to look for specifically 7 seconds medium damage cards. The 3 most common ones that people usually have are this Kodoka, and this Nina, and this specific Mizuki. There are other options, of course, like this Nana is from a limited gacha, and this Takumi is also from a limited gacha, so if you happen to have those, more power to you. Any of these will work fine. The next piece that we will need will be our skill boost. And if you're going to take a look at our skill boost SSRs, you're going to find there's going to be plenty of options. First of all, filters over there. And then we're going to look at the skill boost. So if you look at Miria here, Miria is 7 seconds, which is not very ideal. You want someone who's not the same timer as your damage card. The other options that are here, like this Miku, which is 8 seconds, is the best option. And you can fall back to 10 seconds like Anzu if you don't have 8 second SSR. So let's use this Kanade over here and move on to the last card, which is actually a relatively flexible spot. But the most commonly used card for this slot will be Tricolor Synergy, which is also known as a Charm SSR. These are Fest cards, and you can find the Tricolor Synergy filter there, and here we go. We're just gonna pick one, and the unit does have to be tricolor, so you need to make sure you have at least 3 colors inside, and you're good to go actually. So before you jump into a song, what you do have to check though is the potential of all your cards. They have to be skill level 10, max skill, and also have some amount of skill potential in it. Specifically, the damage card and the magic needs to have at least 6 potential. That is for tricolor songs. If your song you're playing is not matching the colors of your cards, you're gonna need to crank up that potential even more. Generally, we recommend going up to 10, even though 9 should be sufficient on some cards. So the last thing to do, of course, is to tell you how to choose your guests. So in most cases, you want to aim for getting an S score with your auto team, and that would usually involve using one of the tricolor stat guesses. So any one of the 3 tricolors will do, but it really depends on what your team is. The more stat you have, the better. So see what your team stat lines up with. Okay, so now we're gonna do a very quick example over here. We're gonna show you what you're gonna do when you select guests for an off-color song. You can still select Tricolor fest leads, but usually it is not as common. So one of the things that you can do is that you select the filters and you go and select unison instead. That's because unison is quite a bit more commonly used as a guest compared to these Tricolor fest leads in off-colored songs, specific color songs. And that's all you really need to know. So the last thing we're gonna go cover is how do you know if you can auto a specific song? Obviously you can try to do it in a rehearsal, but there is a specific trick that I'm gonna teach you that helps you identify whether or not your auto team is working properly or not. So obviously you can eyeball the health bar, but what we're gonna look here is we're gonna stare at the damage guard card. Because our damage guard is 7 seconds, it's the first thing that's supposed to activate. As you can see here, we're dead, but and all our other cards are activating, but our damage guard hasn't activated yet. Which is a bit strange if you think about it, because our damage guard is supposed to be 100% activation rate, but it's not activating. So when you notice that your damage guard isn't activating anymore, that really is the sign that tells you that you have died in the song and this won't work in an actual life. The reason why you want to look at a damage guard rather than looking at your health bar is that sometimes in certain songs you get down to 1 HP, which looks really scary, and sometimes it's very hard to see how much HP you have. But actually you're alive, and then you have to wait a bit, and then suddenly the health bar starts increasing again. Once you're dead in a rehearsal, your life bar no longer increases even when healing skills are active. So that's a very important thing to take note of. And that's it, really. That's all the basic things you need to know when you're creating an auto team. So to wrap up this video, we're just gonna go through a couple more tiny little points that you might want to know. So first of all, if you do not happen to have a Tricolor Synergy card, there are a couple options you can fall back on. One of them is that you can have an all-round card. All-round provides some healing, provides some scoring. It's a pretty decent option. And if you don't have any all-rounds that you want to use or don't have any damn max skills, a concentration card will also work. But take note, as you start changing these cards, the number of songs and the type of songs that you're able to do will decrease, so just keep that in mind. If you happen to be running one of those alternate cards, by the way, a good example of a song that happens to work when you don't have any healing cards is Everlasting Master, which happens to be a pretty gentle intro compared to some of the other songs, and also happens to be really quick compared to some of the other longer songs in the game. So that's a quick fact for you. Of course, another thing that some people want to know is that if they don't have a SSR skill boost, can they use an SR one? And in this case, it's actually completely possible to do an SR skill boost. What you need to do is that you just need to look for the 9-second ones. For example, Noriko is a pretty good option. Just as an example, there are of course plenty of 9-second skill boosts out there, and you want to make sure that the SR for the skill boost has a lead for skill activation chance, which is Tricolor ability. Otherwise, it might not work on off-color songs. Otherwise, once you have paid attention to those little details, everything is really good to go. There's not that much more that you need to know about a basic auto team. Okay, so this video is running quite long. There are obviously other ways that you can build auto teams in this game, and there are a lot of alternative builds and some classic builds that were used before this one. So we would like to be able to cover them at some point, but this video is already quite long, so I think this is a good point to end it for here. Let me know what you think about this kind of video format for a guide, because this is the first time I've done something like this. Obviously, it's a little bit different from a written guide, and a written guide generally hasn't been doing very well in terms of readership, so I thought if people don't want to read, at least I could try and do something a little bit more visual here. So with that, I think that we'll end off for here. And thank everyone for watching, and I hope you all have a good day.
幸せな気が満ちて